There's some
Yeah, of course,
Wallies
Terry.
there's some Wallies on here, I tell you. Morning panel, or evening, and Peanuts.
Morning.
Evening.
Good Morgan.
Hello, Terry.
Yeah, Alan's got 333 subs. I don't know what that means, but
I'm seeing
Ooh,
331.
So am I.
nearly has 330.
oh, I hear.
Somebody
Oh,
has.
hang on.
I hear somebody. No, it's not me this time.
No, I said
not
Oh.
me.
that one.
Not
It's
me.
me.
Of course, it's you.
I made sure it wasn't me
You're
this
back.
time.
So the first two numbers of his subscriber count is 33. I mean, that's Illuminati confirmed. Simple as that.
Is
You know,
33 so
they're
significant?
very Scottish. Sorry, Tony.
I was just asking if 33 is really that significant.
Only in
Apparently
the
to
minds of
Illuminati.
conspiratards.
I was just noticing mathematically there are 6 panelists and 6 is a perfect number.
I just thought 3 was quite a good number myself, but you know.
A perfect number is a number whose divisors add up to twice the number. So 6, 28, that sort of thing. It goes up from there, but 6 is the first one.
Oh.
Well, Carl's got a
So-
face recognition going on your face.
Oh. Come on, show off.
I guessed Arthur Eddington, but I don't think it is Arthur Eddington. Arthur Eddington had glasses, and I can't find any pictures of him with a pipe, so that's wrong.
Come on, Carl, we're waiting.
Yeah.
Stu says 33 is only relevant when playing vinyl records.
Well, 33 and a third.
Me pick me. What, Boggs?
Yep, 3 is a perfect number, especially at bedtime.
Oh, we are now Sam. Morning, baby.
It's... She's obviously ferreted.
Okay.
Still waiting for Carl's answer.
Yeah. Come on, Carl.
Being very coy now, isn't he?
Don't be
Go,
shy.
I think I know what
I know who that is. Yeah. Well, tell us.
Oh, well. In fairness, he did say that the face was familiar.
Ah, okay.
Yes, if you removed the pipe and stretched his face, it'd be H.P. Lovecraft, but it isn't him.
Gabachaguro should
Oh,
be
he's giving
up
you a
to
clue. Should we look up to him?
Yeah, you probably should.
Edward Hubble.
You got it, Terry.
Ooh.
Well done.
Terry.
11 o'clock. Who knew?
What? Do you think I've been on
Nothing.
YouTube for the last 12 months or whatever? Think I haven't learnt anything?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Pretty much, yeah.
Filled my mouth and stuff came out.
I think if you have learned something in YouTube while you're on YouTube, you're not using it properly.
Yeah.
I have learnt and relearnt an awful lot of stuff whilst watching YouTube videos. Only
Yeah,
because
me
you
too.
think, hang on a minute, that ain't right. Let me go and double check.
Well, I have to give Flat Earthers a credit because that without them, I would not know what I know now because of them being wrong.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Yeah,
and then
there
you
is.
have to do your own research. So you do your own research and think, yeah, I was right. He's talking bollocks.
Yes.
Well, I've got a
They do
derp.
so
I
often
do
shoot
have a
themselves in
derp
the foot.
video.
Oh, if you must.
Goes for 3 minutes and 27 seconds, but Peter said there's no talking or no only sound
No
or
narrative.
Oh,
something. No
good.
narrative.
Yeah, there's. Oh, it's got a jump beat in the background, but that's it.
Oh, as
And
long as
somebody
it's Fleetwood
hasn't
Mac's
used
Tusk, we'll be
landscape
okay.
mode or it's straight off their mobile phone or something, is it?
Oh, no.
Lordy me.
Flat Earth moon phases.
Pause it at any time to see if we can figure out what's going on.
Should this be played with the Magic Roundabout theme tune playing?
I've got no
Nice.
So it's got a little graph
Look
at
how
the top.
realistic
It's got
that map
something.
of Australia is.
It's got something.
Yeah,
at
so
the top
Australia's
there.
kind of elongated.
Yeah, yeah, it always
But-
does that.
But it's funny, you just watch the moon go past Australia and it changes phases as it goes cruising past for that whole day.
But don't you see the arse of it?
Yeah,
The
well,
back
No,
we
end
we
can't
see
see
it upside down.
we can't
not-
see the
not the
shiny
back end.
side if you look at this.
No,
Wow.
you can see the
How
back
do you
side.
get-
Yeah,
see the
so
front side of the
people,
moon.
there's a point in there where he fast forwards through it, which is really, really weird. Look, see, when it passes over South Africa, right here.
Woo.
So if you rewind about, or just keep on going, stop here.
Stop.
Okay. Back up about, oh, well, actually, here I'll do it. So people in South America are seeing the moon completely dark.
Yeah,
That's correct.
So, it's, and if you go on a few seconds, they'll be seeing it full
it's-
moon.
And it's not just that though. At that particular point, you've got 3 different continents seeing different phases of the moon at the same time.
Yep, that's right. It's, I don't understand the basic premise.
So we'd be seeing
even
a
a-
dark. Oh look, lunar eclipse.
Yep, that's right. It'd be a lunar eclipse for us. It's also worth noticing that the moon seems tidally locked to the sun. Maybe I'm overinterpreting that.
Oh, you don't look into it too hard. You might get a headache. Was it going to catch up?
It
Yeah.
overtakes even.
Oh,
where on earth did you find DBTV and his whole 26 subscribers?
well, look, the moon's catching
Oh.
up.
Well,
Got it crash. Oh, go faster, go faster.
Terry likes no-name
Oh
channels
no,
of
no,
dirt.
no, no.
Dodge.
Oh, it caught it.
It's
Oh.
on fire! It's on fire! The moon's on fire!
Jack, get it.
I see. This guy isn't actually saying this is what we see. He's saying this isn't what we see.
All right. Okay.
Sunlight is not on the moon. The sun's sitting on the bloody moon right now.
His description for this video is the program is lying. They are deceiving people. The moon is not like this. Shadows are wrong. Most importantly, flat world lies.
Okay. So he's debunking flat Earth.
Yes.
Okay.
The moon rising
Alright,
from the
so-
bottom is upset.
Oh, I thought it was a dirt
Well,
video.
No, I think he's actually
Well,
attempting to
It's a
debunk it.
debunking of the video.
So, well, there is so much to debunk in here that
Well, the map to start with.
the map to start with. It strikes me as weird. Like, the first thing you need if you're going to do mathematical modeling is a coordinate system, right?
Yeah.
They don't have one.
Well, what amazes me is, we don't believe in gravity. But we'll believe in a magic spinning rock that goes in circles above our head.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
That happens to fly in like a cylindrical type spiral fashion,
Yeah.
just so that it can make seasons.
Well, I like the suggestion. Gravity isn't a force, for which they cite relativity results. Well, the validation of relativity was actually the bending of light due to the mass of the sun during a solar eclipse. So if you're saying that they got the mass of the sun right, and where that validation of relativity holds, well, the debate's over, because now you're saying that the Earth's a planet around the sun. That's the only way we get those observations. So I don't see how they can have the temerity to bring up relativity as though it debunks the globe Earth.
Yeah, I want to get that
I
photo.
did not mean to kill that conversation.
No. I definitely want to get a photo of that crescent moon we had the other night here, Peter, to ask a flat Earth to explain it.
I might have one on file, Terry, that I took a couple of months back.
Because how can the sun be shining, lighting up the moon on this side of it, for where we are?
Oh, what's really good is it gets to the point when the sun and the moon catch up with each other.
Yep.
And overtake each other. The sun overtakes the moon. Wow.
So they show that the sun's higher than the moon on this model.
Yeah, up here on the top here. Start showing
That
it here.
Which leaves lunar eclipses kind of unexplained, right?
Well, maybe this is where Riley got the whole. You get a lunar eclipse once a month. Just sometimes it's over the ocean and no one sees it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
or he even went so far as to say that they happen in space.
Yeah.
Well, he's not wrong.
Dear idea.
If you're in the right place, it kind of does happen, but
no. In order for the Earth to block the light to the light incident on the moon, the Earth has to be in the way. They have to be in a straight line. There's no way around it. If the moon's off to the side, then you're just not going to get an eclipse effect. The program is ridiculous and deceptive.
Yeah.
He is a master of understatement, because I would have gone with some rather stronger phrasing.
Yes. Every single aspect of this so-called model is wrong.
Total nonsense.
Yeah, it is.
That's more in the ballpark of where I think we are. Yeah.
Everything is wrong.
The sun's
quite
not
impressive.
even. The sun's
Not
even,
really. They did get the North Pole correct. Okay, so.
Oh, yeah, the North Pole on a flat Earth.
and why isn't the sun? Why isn't the sun actually going around further out wider, like actually over the top of Australia? They've only got it going in the middle.
The question I'd want to ask, Terry, is, so when on this model does the sun set in the southeast of Australia?
Doesn't.
That's a problem, because it happens during summer here.
Yep, south of east and south of west. Yeah, I go out on my back veranda every summer and I get the sunrise and the sunset, but not in wintertime.
That nails down your geographic location reasonably. So you're north of the Broome-Brisbane line. We can do without you.
Wouldn't the rope holding the sun to the centre pole eventually spin off the little spring at the top?
It's like a totem tennis pole.
Tennis, that's it.
So it's all right, because they haven't got it on the coil this time. They've just got it in the hole at the top. So it's just going round and round.
No, it stops when it gets to the bottom or the top, and it goes back the other way. So why don't we get the sun?
Only when it's on the spring, Terry.
Oh, okay.
We're just waiting for some cosmic giant to come along and slap the sun the other way, are we?
Yeah.
Well, I can see it now. This paddle-shaped asteroid's hurtling towards the moon.
Cosmic swing ball.
Oh, there it goes, backwards.
You really gotta marvel. Like, there are people out there who put hours and hours, days of their lives into into developing this stuff.
The days of our lives.
Well, what about that bloke now he was at the last Flat Earth conference, and all he does is he builds these models in like out of timber perspex and paint and fiberglass. He was saying it took like him 6 months just to make one.
That's a long time to make something that doesn't work.
Yeah, it is a long time to make something that doesn't work. I was telling this story at lunch today. There was a sort of, I've got a friend who does lectures in first year mathematics. And one of the things he used to do is sort of, explain that there was this guy who spent his entire career calculating pi to 1,000 digits. That was his life. And nowadays you can get a computer to do it, in a fraction of a second.
Well, they've calculated it trillions of decimal places.
Yeah,
now.
That's right. And you just go, I feel rather sad for that guy. Like he was doing something that he thought was, really, really constructive. That was just a complete waste of time ultimately. Like, I kind of feel sad for him. But I don't feel sad for Flurfs at all. Like they've chosen to do this, and generally they've decided to be really obnoxious about it.
There was a Japanese guy that gave a recital of pi. He literally sold tickets to have people come and watch him recite pi to 100,000 places.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
There you go.
I'd rather watch paint dry.
Yeah.
Be more exciting.
You remember that Goodies episode with the boring competition?
Vaguely. It's a long time since I watched the Goodies.
Those East Germans really know their, and a harsh score from the East German judge, but those East Germans really know they're boring.
It never got repeated over here.
Really?
Really?
Yep. I haven't seen the Goodies since it was first on the telly over here. I've never seen it repeated, unless it's been on some obscure Sky channel or something that I don't have.
Wow.
I've never seen it repeated. Yeah.
Okay. We'd go through them, like we'd cycle through them.
Yep.
The ABC would show them, re-show them.
Yeah. Get to the end, back to the start.
Yeah.
Yep. They did cut out some bits to make it kid-friendly in some places, but
Yes.
But we were lied to. That wasn't a derp video. That was an anti-derp video. So
yeah, we were lied to. Peter, do you know anything about that?
You've caught me out.
Oh, here we go. Unlike many long-running BBC comedy series, The Goodies has not enjoyed extensive repeats on terrestrial television in the UK. Yeah, it's.
that'd be because they killed somebody. There was a man literally laughed himself to death watching The Goodies.
Oh, that's Monty Python. UK Gold screened many of the early episodes, often with commercial timing cuts. The same episode subsequently aired on UK Arena. Never heard of it. Oh, that became UK Drama, later UK TV Drama. The Goodies was dropped with all of its other comedy and documentary shows. So basically, they haven't been shown here since sometime in the 1990s, I think.
Well, I don't want to say that England sucks.
But England does suck.
England does suck. I agree.
Yeah.
I'm not English.
Yeah. Sometimes it's not just England that sucks. Sometimes it's the whole of the UK that sucks.
Yeah,
sometimes it is, but generally not.
Not often.
I've got a modern day debate. Nathan Thompson gets it versus McToon and whatever.
I started watching that this morning, but it's just peak Nathan Thompson, just I'll make all of these positive claims. I'll have absolutely no evidence. I'll keep interrupting everybody. And SpongeBob SquarePants makes a lot of guest appearances. But
Speeches like
Nathan Thompson?
Yes.
Yeah. Like all of Nathan Thompson's rhetoric,
yes.
He's stolen it from everyone else.
Yes.
And
Witsit just seems to sit there in the background and not really do an awful lot.
So was that modern day debate, or did McToon mirror it?
The debate was on Modern Day Debate, and then MC Toon did an after show on his own channel, and I've watched sort of 10 minutes of that this morning, but obviously I haven't had time to watch it all because you add it all up and it goes on for hours and hours and hours, and I didn't get out of bed until 8 o'clock, so I've only been up 3 hours.
Well, half 3 before I got to bloody sleep today. Don't have coffee at 9 o'clock.
We'll do it. We'll do a little few minutes of this, then we'll see if we can jump through it.
Oh, after the gardening I did yesterday, I had no trouble sleeping last night. I was bollocks.
I made the TikTok coffee. Oh my god! I changed it to coffee.
Is that loud or is that me?
It's
all right now.
Yeah, just
that's fine now.
I'll skip through the intro.
I don't think you want that music playing.
Is that the Sex Pistols?
Yeah, there's definitely something that's going to get hit and hammered.
Sorry, Alan, I was trying to get the...
I'm talking now.
I wonder how he gets away with playing it all the time.
Things that are well known.
Maybe
I'm not letting you chance it.
No.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough, Alan, but I'm just...
Yeah, I
So,
wonder how
the elevation of the sun using just 7th grade math, 1,972 miles. I measured that myself, assuming flat Earth, right? Now, later in the day, at local solar nadir, right? That'd be the middle of the night when the sun is on the farthest point away from me on flat Earth, on the other side of the North Pole, over the Tropic of Capricorn. We can do the same math, calculating the number of degrees latitude you have to go over, multiplying by 60 nautical miles, converting to miles, and we get 10,942 miles. So we can use that distance and the elevation of the sun I already measured to get, due to perspective, the elevation of the sun over flat Earth in the middle of the night. That gives us 10.3041 degrees above true level. Due to perspective. That's the lowest that the sun could ever appear on flat Earth due to perspective. Now, I did take into account refraction.
He just doesn't care.
I'll put the details on my website.
He's not paying attention.
He's reading the chat.
He's just completely unengaged.
Refraction raises the view of the sun by a small amount.
So the other one.
So I put both of those in, and that will be included in my numbers, where I came out with 10.3041 degrees above true level, which would be sometimes called eye level. In the middle of the night, on that day, the sun was not 10 degrees above the horizon, above true level. Therefore, the Earth is not flat. Stephen?
Yeah. Here we go with the cartooning, clowning stuff from Nathan. I love it. It cracks me up.
Yeah. Oh, if I can add just one thing. If you disagree with my math, don't just say it's wrong. I expect to show that you'll show me what's wrong. You'll give me the correct math that predicts where the sun will be and where it sets and all that stuff. So, all right, go ahead, Stephen.
Okay. 3 main points. One, I want you all to try to understand that the Earth is really, really big. It seems like none of you flat earthers can understand that. 2, I don't understand why you think space is not a thing, considering people have been to it. We have went to the moon, and we have people on the ISS. Red Raider has proved that the ISS exists.
No, we'll skip past that. See if we can get to...
Tell you, this is all cartoons, guys. The pictures of the South Pole, cartoons, pictures of satellites in space, cartoons, pictures of the sun, pictures of the core of the Earth,
Go to the bloody
pictures of the Earth, These are all cartoons. It is a cartoon religion. Now, thank you, James, for hosting. And also, McToon, I want to thank you for being here. And Stephen, and my legend of a partner, Austin. Guys, it's going to be a good show. Austin and I are Globe Earthers' worst nightmares. Before they go to bed, they look under the bed for us to check and make sure that Austin and Nathan are not there. So we're going to smoke them like finely imported Cuban cigars in this debate. They have absolutely nothing to bring to the table. I mean, the gentleman started with assuming a flat earth and then did math. How is that your evidence or your argument that we live on a spinning, tilted ball?
Terry, can you just pause that for a second? It's not McToon and Stephen that look under the bed. It's all the kids in the local schools that do. But anyway.
That's true.
Yeah.
We're getting to
I was thinking exactly the same thing.
I know, but I couldn't help but say it.
Yes. We're getting to a point that constantly comes up, like mathematics doesn't prove anything. But if you don't have a mathematical model for what you're observing that you can compare your observations to, you've got no idea what the level of agreement or disagreement between your observations and your model is. And it seems bizarre that, well, I understand psychologically they're just bad at it. They don't, they're intimidated by mathematics, therefore they have to completely invalidate it when it comes up, whenever it comes up or gets used. But surely at some point they must understand that you have to measure how well your model predictions agree with observed reality. It's just intrinsic to how science works, and he may go on to say more obviously deranged things in whatever he's about to vomit forth, but he's starting from a pretty high level of intellectual bankruptcy.
Yeah.
Sorry, just wanted to get that off my chest.
Yeah, you're allowed to. You're allowed.
And if you do happen to live at approximately 45 degrees north, which makes you halfway between the pole, the pole and the sun, especially if it's over the equator, because if you pick the equinox, then the subsolar point daytime is going to be 1/3 of the subsolar distance at nighttime. Your distance to the subsolar point when it's midnight is going to be, that's 1/3, 2/3. So we can, the sun. Sorry, brain's not fast enough to remember to be able to quickly do 2/3 of half. But
2/3 of half is just a third.
A third of half. Sorry,
is a sixth.
A sixth. Yeah. So instead of the sun being half a degree wide, it's going to be a sixth of a degree wide, and I'm pretty sure we'd still be seeing it.
Yeah.
Unless you've got some other reason why we can't see the sun when it's
which
a sixth of a degree wide.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And I think MC Toon, is it MC Toon or is it McToon or
MC Toon?
Yeah, I say McToon, and I get corrected on it all the time.
I always, in my head, I'd always been pronouncing it McToon. But anyway.
Anyway.
Most people do.
Okay, so he makes a very good point. He's treated their model seriously enough to sit down and run the numbers on it, and they're just going to hand wave it away like you doing this isn't any proof of anything whatsoever.
I'll watch another couple of more minutes.
The barefaced mendacity, I guess. Yeah.
It's dark because the sun goes far away.
Yeah. We'll get a couple of more minutes of his derp, and then we'll proceed, and we'll skip ahead to see if they actually do any back and forward conversing.
It's been measured, it's been measured, it's been measured, it's been measured, and then you're going to assume a flat earth and talk about what you think the sun is and how far away you think it is based on math. Okay, that's not proof. You live on a spinning ball. Stephen's arguments, really, he said they need to understand how big it is. Okay, we know exactly how big you guys tell us it is. 24,900 miles around, 3959 on the radius. They say those are the measurements. But the problem is there is no downward Earth curve at all, period. So if you guys don't know who I am, my name is Nathan Thompson. I run the official Flat Earth and Globe discussion. 130,000 members in the group. We don't allow cursing or insults. We do have 24,000 people on our block list, so don't come in there thinking that doesn't fly. We don't allow globe.
They don't like being insulted, but they will
land
insult
surveys
you.
down because the globe
yeah.
it is a religious dogma, but in the end, there it is. And an honest man, not like my opponents, but an honest man, when proven to be wrong, must either admit he is wrong or he no longer remains to be an honest man. Now, I don't want to be a flat earther.
Not an honest man.
I don't know anyone that actually is like gung-ho about being a flat earther.
Okay. That deserves a skip.
Yeah, can we not listen to him? That would be it.
Oh, well, I don't mind the listening. It's just if it's actually going to be some back and forth or not.
Well, I mean,
it's the script he uses for every single debate.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just rhetoric. You only get rhetoric from the guy.
I'll bet you it wasn't him talking while the tables were up.
No, I'll bet you it wasn't.
I honestly don't know why MD bothers their arse debating.
Okay,
what are they using? What are they using to measure it?
They're using theodolites to measure angles from other points, not the horizon. The horizon is not part of it.
Okay, and so what they do is they look in the sky, and then that substantiates your claim of physicality of terra firma being curved.
No, they look in the sky to get their starting point and ending point, right? Once they've got their starting point and ending point, so they know exactly the coordinates that they are on the Earth, then they're not using that anymore. Then they're just using surveying techniques and triangulation.
When it says angles and all that stuff, McToon, are they just talking about the sky?
No, none of this is sky. This is point to point. So you can see here at the top it says big rocks, and then Sims, and then coal. So these are different stations that they're measuring from.
Okay, and then observed angles.
Right, and so here's the angles and the distances in meters. So here's
angles for what? What are the angles for? Are they using more celestial navigation?
I keep telling you they're not looking at the sky. Can you get that through your head? They're not looking at the sky.
Hold on, Nathan.
You said earlier celestial navigation to prove they measured the distance to the center of the Earth. So now to measure the distance to the center of the Earth, guys.
Okay, hold on. This straw manning is a little tough here. They did not measure the distance to the center of the Earth. They're measuring the radius of the Earth. That's a different thing. So if you look here, it says big rocks, and then there's the angle, 50 degrees.
Nathan,
I'm talking.
Nathan.
He just said the radius isn't the distance.
Let's give him a chance to respond.
All right. So big rocks, 50 degrees, 46 minutes, 43.96 seconds. That's the angle between Sims and Cole. That's the other 2 points, right? So they measured to Sims, they measured to Cole from Big Rock. So they got that angle. Then they went to Sims and they measured their angle.
Is this doing the what do you call it? The stick guys thing?
This is geodesy. So this is geodetic surveying. So they're running transects between the three points, and they're measuring the angles observed. Normally, I'd expect to see elevation angles in this as well.
Is this like what the stick guy did?
I'm not sure if this is what the stick guy did.
No, this is what the stick guy did.
This is just basic surveying, and you can work out the distances and the angles between places, and you can work out that they don't make sense on a if you assume that the Earth is flat.
Are you talking about like doing a triangle?
Yeah. So they're so I think if you look down at if you look at the third column under observed angles down the bottom, there's a number there, say 3.68. That's how much over 180 degrees you are.
Right.
And that That's only possible if you're on a curved surface. If you're on a flat surface, then the triangle angles must add up to 180 degrees.
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you're doing now. Yeah.
But like I say, it's not them using the tables. They're just, they just don't have that sort of skill.
No, that's obviously MC2 or the other guy using the tables, isn't it?
It's obviously MC2.
Flat, bro. You're out of the debate. You don't even have anything to say. Okay.
No, I want to know what your measurements of flatness are. You said you've measured it, so where's your measurement?
You don't measure flatness. You look for curve and realize it's flat. Okay. If the Earth was curving downward, you.
Okay. That's just the observational thing. Oh, it looks flat.
You said out of your globe head mouth, it would be 7.7 inches of drop over 1 mile. Now, does that get exponentially bigger, or is that logarithmic, globe head?
All right. So, do you have actual measurements?
I'm sorry, I'm talking to Steven, your partner.
No,
I thought you wanted to say something now.
No evidence presented so far. So,
no, geodetic surveying done over Earth, not accounting for topography, relying on the base presupposition of celestial alignment, does not in any way validate your physical claim of curvature, McToon. Mathematical constructs are just that.
Did he throw in the astrological thing to do with the geodesic thing we were just talking about? And he's throwing.
Yeah. So what you do is at each of the stations you determine the station's latitude and longitude, and you do that by observing by observing the angular elevation of Polaris, say, or and the elevation of other, by using ephemera. So if you've got an accurate clock at that site, and you know what star is overhead, you can work out what your longitude is. So they're using celestial reference points to accurately determine where these stations are, and then they're observing the angles between points of known longitude and latitude.
Yeah.
So these are 19th century calculations. This is before they had GPS or Doris or GNSS or any of these other satellite-based positional systems.
You wouldn't even need to know exactly where on the surface of the sphere they were to show that it was a sphere or spheroid anyway, because the measurements will still show that. It's just if these measurements are going to be useful for navigation, it kind of helps to at least know where you started from.
Yeah, that's right. And so having established these reference points, knowing their location with some precision is useful for other purposes when you extend the functionality of the system.
Super. So, are you laying down, Steven? Just like take it, just like resting. It's easy going. I like it.
No, I'm sitting up, just leaning.
Gotcha. I might lay down. I think it's time for me to like stretch across this recliner. But thanks for your super chat. Kango24 says, MC Tune. They do it again.
Obviously can't be coming from towers and balloons above our head. It has to be metal boxes in space, 250 miles away, going 17,000 miles an hour because of gravitational orbits, because that's how you would triangulate objects, guys. That's what you for sure would do. You definitely would not use towers and balloons right above your head. You would use cartoon metal boxes.
Stop. He's now talking about GPS. GPS does not use triangulation.
No, it doesn't. I was about to make the same point.
Yeah, I was trying to. I was a bit that way.
Well, I actually have the privilege of working with some of the people who work on the MIT software for processing GPS observations, and yeah, it's all of the way they do it. They have to solve for the geometry of the entire network, so not just the receiver, but they have to solve for the geometry of the satellites and the center of mass of the Earth, which is actually in motion. So the reference frame is kind of defined as well as we can, but there are still levels of uncertainty associated with it, small uncertainties. But they're trying to use the GPS satellites to solve for those as well. But yeah, back in the early days, you could solve for position with 4 satellites because you're solving for your location in space time. It's not a triangulation at all. It's solving your position as the one unknown, given the times it's taken for the signals to reach you
from their known locations.
Yeah, from their known locations, but in fact, that's operating under the assumption that the GPS satellite locations are known. In reality, there are small uncertainties associated with the satellite geometries, and there are also small uncertainties associated with atmospheric effects as the radio signals travel through the ionosphere, and also there are minor effects due to site geometry. You might get reflections or other interference. Normally, these are too small to be worried about, but if you're trying to determine continental plate motions that are only a few millimeters a year, this is the type of stuff that keeps you awake at night.
Yeah.
I mean, the military actually have access to a sideband channel that's got extra information that allows them to make more accurate measurements by taking into account atmospheric effects and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's right. But that sort of thing is not available to civilian researchers.
No,
so.
That's right.
I remember when they because they used to encrypt the last couple of bits of the data, didn't they? For the accuracy. And I remember when they took it off, and I remember watching I think it was an episode of Time Team where because they'd taken that encryption off, they were trying to go back to an old survey that had been done using the encrypted GPS.
Yeah.
And it was all out by.
Yep.
It was all out by a couple of meters, and they were having real difficulty correcting for it because it wasn't necessarily out by a couple of meters in the same direction all the time.
No, they randomized the last few digits to make it so they deliberately made it not systematic. If it was a systematic offset from the actual answer, then you could obtain the actual answer by just having a GPS receiver there. But they actually randomized it to sort of interestingly, there was a phase in GPS history. They did that so that you couldn't have high precision modeling of sensitive US infrastructure. But then they worked out that they needed the precise results over the sensitive US infrastructure, so they unencrypted it for those areas. So if you were in those areas, you could actually get. But then they worked out that if they were going to do that, it was pointless to have the security in place at all. So they stripped it away completely. But as as was pointed out, is that Wolfie? I don't know. Sounds like Wolfie. But anyway, it's there's a lot of information that the US military keep to themselves that they don't allow other people to use, and so it kind of makes the lives of geodesists a bit more tricky than it needs to be. But such is life.
I'll give this another couple of seconds and we'll see if we'll make another jump.
This, which if you Google satellites in space, guys, they are all cartoons. I'm not making this up. I'm not lying to you guys.
It'd be incredibly inefficient at 17,500 miles per hour to use it for your satellites, dude. Your service. That's stupid.
How does he define them as a cartoon? Is he talking about CGI or?
Yeah, he thinks it's all fabricated pictures, Terry.
Yeah, the problem is that unless you can send a camera up on a satellite next to your satellite to take a photograph of it, the only way you can really do pictures of a satellite in space is by doing an illustration.
Yeah, conceptual art.
Yeah, because you can't take a photograph of it because resolution. It's really hard to resolve satellites, and you've got a telescope big enough to resolve a satellite. It starts getting difficult to swing it across the sky at the number of degrees per second required to track a satellite.
Yeah.
It's that old story that the flat earthers always love to play, were you there? You need to have a picture of the camera taking a picture of the camera taking a picture of the camera to prove that all of them were there. It's just
have a camera taking a picture of all those cameras taking a picture of them.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
You can never have enough validation. I like Pip's avatar at the moment. Kind of summarized.
Oh, she changed it again.
She went for
classic Picard facepalm.
Face palm. John Picard's face palm.
He is the master of the facepalm.
He is.
It's stupid.
Gotcha. Yep. Thanks for your super chat from Tim Pryor. Says, "Oh, impressive, Nathan. We have 7 billion people plus all the world's geniuses. A little bit."
But it, again, sort of, I apologize for this, but I was watching some videos about body language interpretation. But watch Nathan Thompson's reaction. If you just go back a couple of seconds, as soon as the super chat comes up.
That one, I can't pinpoint that. I don't know where that was now.
Okay, that was just a couple of seconds before.
Yeah, not that far. Not you're going back too far.
It was about 5 seconds.
I went and verified myself. I mean, Lake Pontchartrain, they think it curves at 7 miles away from you, but from left side of the screen to the right side of the screen is 20 miles, and there's no curve on that axis. So yes, anyone can go outside and verify this themselves. What we're saying here, Austin and I, is that they say the Earth's radius is this, they say we live in space, they say that we move this fast, and they just can't support any of that crap with evidence. They will assume a flat Earth and then do math about lights in the sky. That's what they do. You guys saw it. You can rewind the video. It's all here. Etched in eternity. Thank you very much, Mick Clown and Steven.
Good. I tested your claims. It failed.
Next, thanks for your super chat. Tioga, our dearest friend. By the way, thanks for your super chat, Tioga. And she is the local artist. I don't know if I had mentioned to you folks that we have a merch store. If it's just the standard logo, that is kind of like standard merch. But if you see something that like looks artistically cool, that is from Tioga. And so we want to say huge thanks to her for doing that awesome work. And you can support a local artist if you happen to buy one of those sweet things that has, for example, her artistic rendition of the logo, as well as, for some reason, I don't know why anyone would want to wear a sweatshirt with my face on it, but she is epic. We love Tioga. Terrific. And her super chat says this. We get it, Nathan. You don't read. And thanks for your super chat from Tim Pryor. Said, Nathan,
it's just denial. That's all you have.
Spark344, thanks for your super chat. Says, Patreon statement.
I think you just
Mark Shuttleworth from South Africa.
We just missed the super chat we was waiting for.
Next.
Oh, sorry.
He was literally starting to read
space
it out.
on my own.
Yes. What?
What, there where it comes up like that?
The surveyors take into account local topography.
I don't know. We were just there.
It's not such a big.
It's all in
not
there.
such a big deal, but
well, yeah, it is. And so the thing is, when they're measuring horizontal angles, not vertical angles, so the topography doesn't affect it. That's the cool thing about the technique they use.
Horizontal, but curved, right? Horizontal but curved.
Yes.
Okay.
And Sear,
MC Toon walked
said,
into
Nathan,
that one a little bit.
Quote, it's measurably flat, unquote. Also, Nathan, quote, you don't measure flatness, unquote.
Yeah, you look for curve and find out there is none there. So in that sense, it is measurably flat. There is no measurable curvature to Earth's surface.
I've measured the curvature.
Voters just refuse to go test it themselves and look at the sky over and over, or tell you it's really big. That's why it's flat.
Well, but one thing I want to just be sure that I understand that you covered is that they said, but they say that you also say that quote, you don't measure flatness. So I understand the first part. You're saying that it's measurably flat because you're saying measurements have been done in which you're saying they haven't found curve, but you're saying when it comes to the part where it says you saying that you don't measure flatness, I think they're saying that there's like an inconsistency there. I'm trying to understand like what, maybe you responded to that part, but I missed it.
Yeah, just you don't measure nothing. So if you go out looking for curvature and there is no curvature there, well, then you measured how flat it is.
Gotcha. And this one guy, thanks for your super chat, says,
but I
whatever
measured
happened
the curve.
to Decorum? I don't know if we've had that on here for a while. Tim Pryor, thanks for your super chat, said, Nathan, people have shown you the effects of the curve and gave you measurements of it. Stop lying. You've seen it. You just stick your fingers.
It happened. It happened again right there.
Neil deGrasse Tyson, the most famous scientist on Earth, says no.
So if you rewind to just as the guy's asking the question, just watch Nathan
civilian
Thompson's
has
expression
ever seen the curve of the Earth.
Because he just, before the question is even finished, he's made up his mind. Before the question is even finished being asked, he is already expressing his position. Like, he doesn't even think. There's no attempt to analyze what's coming in. He's just going to negate it. It's just reflexive.
You know what I think he's doing? He's looking down right there where he's looking down like that. He's looking down at a piece of paper that's got a list of rebuttals in the way he uses them that are just nonsensical rebuttals to anything along the lines of a logical statement and or question.
Yeah. But if you look at that facial expression right there, it's an asymmetric facial expression, which is a sign of contempt. He's got no reason to engage. He's not even trying to. It's he's erected sort of a cognitive barrier between any questions coming in. You are not going to reach this guy. No matter what tactics you use or how politely you phrase it or how much evidence you bear, he instinctively has contempt for anything you are about to say.
I hope that asymmetrical face thing isn't applied to everybody all the time, because since my Bell's palsy, my face is most definitely asymmetrical.
There are there is the body language people do have what they refer to as a baseline that you need to compare anything to. So you need to look at the person's baseline, what their reference body language is before you.
And this one guy, thanks for your
however,
says, whatever happened.
If Nathan Thompson had some sort of palsy, that would explain a lot. But he's got none of the physical manifestations that I would normally expect. So
Yeah. I think Terry wants to press play again.
No, I was trying to get the comma and the full stop thing going on the keyboard to just move it frame by frame.
You're better off using the cursor arrows. They go backwards and forwards, sort of 5 or 10 seconds at a time.
Cursor arrows? Where are they?
Yeah, you've got your left and right arrows. Your 4 cursors, your left and right arrows, left and right, fast forward and reverse.
Yeah, that's what I'm on. I'm on the keyboard. I'm on the keyboard.
Yeah, on the keyboard.
Yeah, but sometimes it doesn't kick in unless you've actually put the mouse over the video. If your mouse is not on the video.
Well, yeah, you have to have the you have to have that as the active window.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I was doing. That's why I mucked up.
Is it over yet?
No.
No, you wanted me to play these few frames or something. I could have played it in slow motion.
That on here for a while. Tim Pryor, thanks for your super chat, said, Nathan, people have shown you the effects of the curve and gave you measurements of it. Stop lying. You've seen it. You just stick your fingers in your ears.
Neil deGrasse Tyson, the most famous scientist on Earth, says no civilian has ever seen.
Not. He's not a scientist.
He's not. Well, he is, but he's not the most famous scientist on Earth.
No.
No.
Till 3 years ago, I'd never heard of the guy.
Yeah.
I prefer Brian Cox myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I must admit, I'm sorry, but I do also prefer Brian Cox.
Yeah.
And what's
have either of them won Nobel Prizes?
No, neither of them have won Nobel Prizes. And I was going to say, what's the Scottish geophysicist that did a lot of TV? I like him too.
Don't know.
No idea.
Oh, he's done quite a bit of earth science stuff. He's really good too. But I'm not good at names, I'm afraid. Sorry.
Yeah, but he's not. Sort of. This is the. I think this is. Again, sort of. The idea that and Neil deGrasse Tyson won't claim expertise beyond what he has. He'll have a realistic idea of his level of competence, but he won't claim that he's one of the foremost scientists on the face of the planet. He actually dedicates a lot of time to science communication that a lot of serious scientists just can't afford because they're working on projects.
Yeah, he's possibly one of the most famous science communicators, but that's a completely different thing, isn't it? I mean, as is Brian Cox, Professor Ian Stewart. That was the geophysicist, the earth sciences guy that I was thinking of. I think.
Never heard of him.
And then there's I hate when I can't remember their names. There's a very good
archaeologist, anthropologist.
Yeah, sort of the who comes up with the institute. Yeah, that's it. Blonde lady who is Alice Roberts.
All right.
She's not. She's a she does people who've been dead for a long time.
Right. Okay.
Historical
biographies.
She's an anthropologist, but she does with the bones and things.
But I mean, this is to some extent just sort of when he looked away, when he looked down at what was hypothesized to be his screen, he did this thing with his jaw that was just mulish opposition. He is not even going to process a question. He's not going to entertain it. He is instinctively hostile to any viewpoint other than that disagrees with his own. And it's I'm not sure of the value of debating him necessarily. He seems to be one of those people who is who's considers he's on some sort of divine mission, and therefore lying and misrepresenting and insulting people is valid.
Mm-hmm.
He just likes the attention, that's all.
Yeah, I think that's a very, very insightful comment. Yeah.
Could I share for 30 seconds, Terry, please?
Is that a military insignia, Alan? Your avatar?
Yeah. That's Professor Roberts, who I was thinking of. He's a biological anthropologist and TV presenter.
All right.
And now I can't.
Paleopathology.
That would be something like that. Stop share. Yeah, that's the Fist and Sparks badge awarded to members of certain radio and radar trades in the Royal Air Force.
Okay, there you go. That is not a military insignia, Pip.
No, it's Star Trek though.
Almost as good. Almost as good.
Staying up there till Thompson shuts his face.
that will never happen. You know that. He's just
well, at least today.
Okay.
His channel on whether or not Flat Earth has a dome, and he's a freaking coward who won't do it. And he's like, oh, if I bring a panel, if I can bring my friends to hold my hand in the debate so I don't get embarrassed so badly. So guys, go bug Flat Earth Millionaire. Get him on here.
Dude, the falling out between you and him. Wow.
Whoa. Does this other Witsit person ever talked?
He has once or twice. Just
yeah, he was just reading off of cards anyway. So
hard to tell who's talking because it doesn't light up.
Yeah.
We already got. So we're going to speed through these last ones. Thanks for your super chat. B-Ball for Life says, Nathan and Whitson, why doesn't the higher pressure at the bottom of Mount Everest move to the lower pressure at the top of Mount Everest?
We've already explained there's a plethora of variance of factors, okay? Higher concentration because of introduction of gas at the surface level. We would need to also heat plays a factor.
Did I?
It's a plethora.
What?
Good word. A plethora. A lot.
Yes.
I misunderstood it.
Myriad.
We've already explained there's a plethora of variance of factors, okay?
Okay, a plethora
variance effect.
Okay. Yeah, so he's linguistically confused here. There are.
Yeah.
What he's trying to say is that there are a plethora of or a variety of factors influencing that cause this observation. But he doesn't go back and correct himself. I mean, I've been on Conspiracy Cats a couple of times recently, and on Fight the Flat Earth once, and I notice I just did it then. I say a lot, because I'm trying to phrase what I say as precisely as possible, because I know that if I don't, I'm likely to misspeak and say something that can be taken out of context. But flat earthers, and so I come across as very hesitant and very uncertain about what I'm saying, whereas flat earthers will just spew nonsense, half-digested nonsense, with some authority and not bother to analyze, what did I just say again? Where was I going with this? They'll just continue plowing forward.
Oh, you mean flat earthers open their mouth before their brain catches up?
Yes.
Well,
that's showing though.
They open their mouth and let their belly rumble.
It is showing though that generally speaking, when people who like to articulate themselves correctly, they will do those pregnant pauses of the and ahs buts, and things like that in the middle of their sentences to give themselves enough time to think of the correct word and or word sequence to use next.
Yeah, that's what I find. I'll get halfway into a sentence and then I'll realize that the grammatical structure I've employed to get this far doesn't necessarily mesh perfectly with what I want to follow up with. So I have to sort of pause and reconsider how I'm going to connect the two. Which, now that I say that out loud, makes me sound like I'm being very egotistical, but it's just it's a nervous habit that I have. But he doesn't have it, which good for him. But I think he's getting himself tied up in knots here, trying to explain nonsense as though it's technical.
Higher concentration is an introduction of gas to the surface level. We would need to also, heat plays a factor, weather patterns. We would also need to know the characteristics of the containments, like the electrostatic characteristics, to understand the dissipation.
And a different element, densities of elements in the atmosphere too could contribute to all.
Was Lemonbird speaking there for a minute? I was sorry.
Yeah, that was
yes,
classic,
he was.
Classic Lemonbird word salad, that was. Blah, 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 blah. And he actually said nothing of any value whatsoever.
No.
You mean blah, blah, blah? But...
Blah, 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 blah.
Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, that's it.
And why does Nathan
come out then?
But why does Nathan...
You remember Bill and Ben?
The
flower pot man?
Yeah,
oh, yes.
Kind of reminds me
So
of
why
that.
does Nathan have to think that he has to help Whitsitt? But because Whitsitt's not getting it right and Nathan knows that, so he has to help him?
Well, I'm not sure what's Nathan about to say.
No,
all of that other stuff. Austin
the different density of the.
Nathan,
that's right. Yeah.
Whizbang, thanks for your super chat. Said, I would love to see a debate between G-Man and Darth, and going against Nathan and Austin on Flat Earth. James's mouse would explode from hitting mute so much. That might be true. Syed Ahmad, thanks for your super chat. Said synthetic medicine might fix Austin's teeth. What are you talking about, Eric? Next up, Brian Stevens, thanks for your super chat. Said Nathan is right. Cops aren't treating the sick. Whitsitt's channel, not one observation, experiment, or test of the curvature of the Earth, appealing to other flat earthers.
No, yeah. Falsification of your claimed metrics, hence the radius, hence the implosion of the globe Earth. I don't know why it's so complicated.
Next up, thanks for your super chat. 8-Bit Deadpool says, Nathan, do you remember the evidence given at the Salton Sea? The evidence that you denied even though you were there to witness the experiment.
Well, the Discovery Channel showed a boat with different color lines on it, and they said that the Earth curve was obstructing the lines for the boat, but the horizon was above the boat in the background. So they said that the physical, actual geometric horizon was obstructing the boat, but you could see the horizon above the boat in the background. I mean, yeah, I was there. I was there to laugh at National Geographic, lie to all you guys, and watch how gullible you are. Talk about it years later because you're lost in the space sauce. I feel sorry for you.
Next up, thanks for your super chat from Tim Pryor. Says, so since he admits we don't need a tape measure for altitude of airplanes, then he should...
No new arguments. No new rebuttals. Just all...
Well, they don't...
Of course not.
They don't have an argument. And I mean, somebody was suggesting earlier that that his opening statement was just a sort of regurgitation of what he'd previously come out with, and that he was glancing off to the side for some points that he'd written down previously. He's not trying to engage in a discussion. This is not what this is about for him. He's not here to assess evidence or present arguments or critically think about logical structures. He's just here to throw rehearsed lines out in sufficient quantity to present what he thinks is a persuasive argument. I mean, to some extent, Nathan Oakley, I think, is one of the most contemptible human beings I've ever had the misfortune to to clap eyes on.
Mm.
But Nathan Thompson is kind of pathetic in the sense that he just seems really in a delusional state. It's willfully delusional, but I don't know. Just he's lost in a really pathetic fashion.
Yeah.
Again, I didn't mean to kill the conversation there. You guys can chip in anytime.
No. We're going on to the next topic, which is ancient
All right.
technologies. We just thought we'd get a bit of dirt, break the ice, so to speak.
But we're not. Trouble is, we're not rude, and we don't like interrupting people.
Which I will take as a veiled criticism that I speak too much.
No, because I get because don't worry, Tony, I can talk even more than you can at times.
Right.
Oh yes, you can.
And I'm a bit hesitant to tell you to shut up because I'm too polite.
Yeah,
Shut up,
Tony's
Terry.
far too polite.
What's that boot button? Go to the waiting room. Action speaks louder than words. Right, what do we got? Well, like Wikipedia exploration and navigation, Did Peter find this thing? It's called Navigational Technology in the 1500s and the Age of Exploration. I thought we could probably go onto this as an article.
This strikes me as sort of a huge thing that they must have, that the Flat Earth must have immense difficulty explaining. Like, how did Captain Cook get here if he thought he was on a globe, but he was actually on a flat Earth?
He just pointed that way and said, "That's the way we're going." Okay.
All right.
And why did it
okay.
only take him a couple of years to get around the globe?
Well put, Alan. That's it.
Well, I believe there's an issue if the circumference of if the equator is 10,000 kilometers from the North Pole.
Yes.
Why is it that the circumference of the equator is only 40,030 kilometers when
But nobody's sailed it in a straight line, have they?
when 20,000 times pi happens to be 62,831?
Yes.
Where's the extra? Where's the extra 22,800 odd kilometers come from? Or gone?
Their map will.
Sorry, where's it gone?
Excuse me. That was rude.
Well, we can see.
Their map will explain everything.
Where's the dome map?
Which map?
Flat Earth map in this picture. All I can see is globes.
Well, you see, that's the thing. These guys were mistaken. Everybody was mistaken. Everybody thought we were on a globe up until the space program started, apparently. Then they found out that actually the Earth was flat. That's the historiography I've heard. So these people thought that the Earth was spherical, but they were wrong.
Blocked what I wanted to read. I can't quite read that. Who's my reader here? I can't.
By the beginning of the 1500s, technology was 1608 sailing handbooks showing the tools of the time, including an hourglass, astrolabe, and globes.
Okay, so it's like Where's Wally?
Yeah, well, there's a couple of big ones.
Where's their hourglass? Somebody got an hourglass?
Yeah, bottom left-hand corner.
Oh, did it? Yeah, right down the bottom left.
I'm going to really squint to see
And I
that
think
one.
that's probably a compass in that box next to it, isn't it? Next to the hourglass.
Yeah,
Oh, here.
that looks
Okay.
like it.
I'm trying to work out what this guy's
Yeah.
got. Oh, is that the flat Earth map?
That could well be it. Yeah. And the astrolabe is that weird pogo-looking thing.
I'm trying to work out what this thing is here.
That's the astrolabe, isn't it?
That's the astrolabe.
Yeah.
And this guy's doing coordinates with a.
Well, he's measuring distances. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I'm trying to work out what they're.
1608, that will probably be a Mercator projection on there, won't it? On
So those little rings there, so that if you can work out the heading you need to take once you get to a certain point. So if you're so at this point, they were actually using globes, physical globes, for navigation purposes. So they were trying to get so they were using those sort of inset things that they could move to various points to work out the headings that they should be traveling in.
There's a round thing here.
Yeah, that's an interesting. Yep.
I can't quite work out what it's.
No, I'm not exactly
It's
sure.
got lines going either way, like latitude, longitudes.
Right. I think they're tracing. I think they're like celestial arc. So those look like celestial arcs. Like they're the paths that would be traced by stars of various azimuthal. Well, I've forgotten the term. Is it declination? I'm a bit rusty on my celestial navigation.
I believe they call it azimuth and declination. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they all must be pretty clever because they've all got their shoelaces tied up. So smart.
Yeah.
I can't see any other detail.
I don't think they have shoelaces.
Yeah, they look like they did, didn't they? I can't tell.
I think those are just toggles.
Oh, okay.
I think actually shoelaces are kind of a recent invention.
Well, we haven't got into shoelaces yet for ancient technology. I haven't thought about that one yet.
Ah.
Okay.
Who's the inventor of the aglet?
Alright. Okay.
This article is available at 5 reading levels.
I'll read until my eyes go, you know what, and then I'll read this bit. By the beginning of the 1500s, technology used for sailing was developing quickly. European explorers were crossing the oceans and visiting new continents. They needed new tools to find their positions without using landmarks. Scientists used their growing knowledge of stars and math to help them. Without this knowledge, the discovery of new lands would not have been possible. Sailing is based largely on the coordinates of latitude and longitude. Coordinates are numbers that show a person's position. Latitude refers to how far north or south someone is. Longitude refers to east or west. Okay?
Yep. I think I'm with you so far.
Who wants to do knowing latitude distance important for sailing down to instruments?
I vote for Pip. She has the best accent in the world.
Oh, I'm blushing. I'm blushing.
Yeah,
Do you want me to do it in my posh voice or my normal voice?
Hey, you want to try hearing the accent of somebody whose native language is Flemish and who learned English by watching American TV shows?
Oh dear.
It sounds awfully Scottish.
I'll have you know that the Scottish actually speak more correct English than most English speakers.
I think I've got it all in the window there.
Okay. Well, I can't read that. Knowing the latitude distance.
Ah.
Important for sailing.
Important, okay.
Trying to get it
Yeah,
just
just
right.
move it up, make it less easy to read.
That's fine.
Stop moving it, Terry.
What?
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
Bloody hell.
Knowing
Like
the
shooting a moving
latitude,
target.
this was important for sailing. That doesn't make sense. Okay. In the 1500s, finding longitude was hard to do. Latitude, on the other hand, could be determined fairly accurately thanks to new instruments. Latitude was therefore very important for sailing during this period. In addition to measuring latitude, sailors had found a way of measuring distance. They measured the speed of the ship and the speeds of the ocean currents. From this information, they could find out how far they had travelled. This system of measuring is known as dead reckoning. For dead reckoning to be accurate, sailors need to have precise instruments.
Scroll up, Terry.
I was just trying to.
So you reach the end.
I was trying to absorb that.
Instruments for measuring latitude. One instrument sailors used was a map of the earth and its seas. In 1569, Gerardus Mercator invented a map where sailors could read latitude and longitude easily.
I wonder if that's got anything to do with the Mercator map.
I think there's everything to do with the Mercator map.
And he's got an
Another important...
I was going to look at the instrument, at the picture. I like looking at pictures.
Well,
I'll tell you what it is in a minute. Another important instrument was the astrolabe. This tool was used to determine latitude by measuring the position of the North Star. When looking at this star, a person is always looking north. The astrolabe showed sailors how far north or south their position was. Another tool sailors used to measure latitude was a quadrant. This tool was shaped like a quarter of a circle. The user measured how high the North Star was by looking through a peephole. The cross staff was a square staff about 4 feet in length. It had a scale and sliding pieces of various lengths. Users held the end of the staff to their eye, then slid the pieces to measure where the observed objects were in the sky. The location of the pieces on the scale were then used to find the latitude.
They must have got a shock when they started sailing below the equator and realised that there was the South Pole.
Oh, where did Polaris go?
Yeah.
but
Where's
you
the
could,
North Star?
But you can use sort of, if you know how far a constellation is away from the North Star, as long as you've got that constellation in sight, you can then sort of work out how far you are away.
Well, here we go. It's
Yeah, but the North Star was getting lower and lower on the horizon. They're going, what's going on here?
The instruments described above relied on the stars being visible. When these could not be seen, sailors used a magnetic compass instead. The compass works day or night in good weather or bad. A needle inside the compass is able to swing freely and always points north. Christopher Columbus was a sailor who travelled to the Americas when Europeans still did not know they existed. He said that the compass always seeks the truth.
Did he say that? Huh.
But he was wrong, wasn't he?
He was obviously delusional, but yeah. Apart from that.
For dead reckoning to work, it is necessary to measure time. To do this, sailors usually used an hourglass, which was made of 2 glass cups. The sand in the top cup gradually fell into the bottom cup. When the sand had fallen completely to the bottom, sailors knew a certain amount of time had passed. The most common glasses were the 4-hour and half-hour sizes. A ship's boy carefully tended the hourglass, the half-hour glass, turning it as soon as the sand had run through.
I knew the ship's boy come in handy for something.
I will also point out actually that the Vikings used crystals, so that even on cloudy days they could work out where the sun was, because the crystals would sort of repolarize the light, and if you were pointing the crystal directly at the sun, you'd get a beam of reasonably bright light on, so they could work out where the sun was.
The glass was used together with the log. This was a piece of wood attached to a long rope that had knots placed at equal spacing. A sailor threw the log into the water and felt the rope as the ship pulled away. When the sailor felt the first knot pass through his fingers, he shouted a signal. Then another sailor turned a 1-minute glass. The first sailor counted aloud the number of knots that passed until the sand ran out. From there, simple math could be used to find the speed of the ship.
In knots.
Yes.
Yes. That's why it's called the knot.
Yeah.
Well, I did not know that until just then. So
I didn't know.
edified.
I learned something.
And also, it is correctly knots, not knots per hour.
Right. Okay.
Many other tools were used as well. Sailors also used maps to keep track of where they were going. However, map makers in the 1500s did not have the right longitudes. Most maps of the time are not very accurate compared to today.
Sure.
Oh, that was it.
Yeah. Now, we're skipping the quiz. I wanted to know.
Oh, there was a quiz. Yeah, Peter said there's a quiz at the bottom for some reason.
It's just to test reading comprehension.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Read the section instruments for measuring latitude. Which sentence from the section is best illustrated by the image in that section? I don't know. Do you want to go through this? I don't know. Understand what that means.
No. I was being entirely flippant.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry that's about as minimal we're going to get for that until next episode.
Well, I think that any flat earther in the audience will have been educated.
We have one pet flat earther out there, but haven't seen him for a while.
Okay.
Well, supposedly
is this
he's
the
out
attitude
there.
you normally take with your pets?
Well, we do have a pet flat earther, but we never know when he's out there.
Actually, I think he's
earlier on.
I think he's actually a pet fundamental. No, he's a Christian fundamentalist. You know, I think he's actually a young Earth creationist.
No, he's not. No.
Well, he's always coming out with the religious stuff as well, isn't he?
That was just the last couple of days. He's always looking for obedient Christian women.
Yeah, I saw him in the chat earlier.
No, that's not what I look for in a woman.
Don't look in my direction, tell you that.
Dear, oh dear.
I did want to touch on exploration. I can't get rid of that bottom bit.
See, this is the like just point and go doesn't really explain how they got to where they were going. So,
yeah, how did they figure out how to go south, then this way, and then that way? Around the Cape of Good Hope, then up around to India. Like, how long would that have took on a flat map? That would have took forever going from there around to India.
Yeah, but this of course shows you why people like Columbus were looking for a different way to get to the Far East.
And why
they knew they lived on the globe, and they thought if they went round the other way, they'd get there quicker. Of course, what they didn't realise is the Americas were in the way. That's what they didn't know, but they knew damn well what the shape of the Earth was.
Yeah.
Isn't the West Indies called that because they thought they hit India?
Correct.
Yes, which tells you all you need to know about how sharp Columbus was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because he hadn't travelled anywhere near far enough to get near the Indies. So he's commonly mocked for being out by quite a bit from the known size of the Earth.
But it still stands that they knew the Earth. They knew the shape of the Earth. They knew it was a sphere. And they thought, if we go round the other way, maybe we can get there quicker. It'll be an easier route. We haven't got to go all the way down around Africa, blah, blah, blah. If we go round the other way.
Yep.
Yeah. The theory was sound.
Yeah,
The theory.
And
I was just going to say, but they knew what the circumference of the Earth ought to be.
Yes. Yeah.
So they should have known how far they would have had to have gone.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. Which is why a lot of people criticize Columbus for thinking he was in the Indies, when he should have been able to work out that he was well short of the Indies.
Yeah.
And let's face it, they barely made the Caribbean.
Yes.
So they would have had no hope on earth of making the Indies had America not been in the way.
No.
Yeah. But it's it's just so dispiriting. I mean, how do Captain Cook produced maps of Australia that were so accurate that they weren't that more accurate maps weren't prepared until the early satellite era in the 1970s. 200 years he had the best maps of Australia, but we're expected to believe that he was able to navigate so precisely under the assumption that the Earth was spherical, even though it was in fact flat. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It's not possible. I don't think they had the first inkling of how navigation works.
Were Flurpies back?
Oh yeah, the Flurpy's back.
Somebody shouted, "Chloe!" And he came.
I have to stop sharing.